This is your Game of Thrones news roundup. Lots of Game of Thrones news since my last Game of Thrones news video. News. Lots of it. That's new. First, George wants you to know the mixed reactions to the final season of Game of Thrones will change nothing of what he writes. He firmly said, "The internet affects all this to a degree it was never affected before. Like Jon Snow's parentage. There were early hints about who Jon Snow's parents were in the books, but only one reader in 100 put it together. And before the internet, that was fine. For 99 readers out of 100, when Jon Snow's parentage gets revealed, it would be, oh, that's a great twist. But in the age of the internet, even if only one person in 100 figures out, then the one person posts it online, and the other 99 people read it and go, oh, that makes sense. Suddenly the twist you're building towards is out there, and there is a temptation to then change it in the upcoming books. Oh my god, it's screwed up. I have to come up with something different. But that's wrong, because you've been planning for a certain ending, and if you suddenly change direction just because somebody figured it out, or because they don't like it, then it screws up the whole structure. So no, I don't read the fan sites. I want to write the book I've always intended to write all along. And when it comes out, they can like it, or they cannot like it." No one, and I mean no one, mentioned this to Order of the Green Hand, and definitely go to their YouTube channel and subscribe to them. Now. But going back to George's point that one person figures it out and then shares it on the internet and everyone knows, I've heard this said to me over and over again the years I've had this channel. Oh, it would be too obvious if this happens or this happens in the books. And it's interesting because when I started reading the books, it was before these internet forums and stuff were such a big thing. So when you would go to conventions or book clubs and you'd bring up your theories, it would like blow people away and it would be so shocking. But nowadays, oh, that's so obvious. No, when I started reading the books almost 2 decades ago, it was not that obvious. So people need to realize the internet has changed everything and made things more obvious. But you should also know that the final 2 books are going to be very different than the show, something George has said so many times at this point. So for the millionth time, he said, "The whole last 3 years have been strange since the show got ahead of the books. Yes, I told showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss a number of things years ago, and some of them they did do, but at the same time, it's different. I have very fixed ideas in my head as I'm writing The Winds of Winter and beyond that in terms of where things are going. It's like 2 alternate realities existing side by side. I have to double down and do my version of it, which is what I've been doing." I think of this like when I used to watch The Walking Dead before it became so horrendous. Watching it was just basically fucking torture, but I used to watch it, and when I did, and comic book readers would get upset that the comics were different than the show, I'd just be like, I started on the comics, The Walking Dead comics, and I just view the show as an alternate reality of how things could go. So it never really bothered me, but I understand for certain people that are maybe a comic or book purist, it could set them off a little bit. Personally, I like having 2 different worlds and seeing how things play out in each to be quite a lot of fun, but not everyone will agree with you on that. However, in case you feel that deep hatred towards an elderly man that some very special people seem to have, he is feeling the pressure. So he also shared, "I felt a tremendous amount of pressure for years now. The most pressure I felt was a few years ago when I was desperately trying to stay ahead of the show. There was a point when the show was coming out in April, and my editor said if I could finish the book by December, they'd rush it out. And the pressure I felt that fall was the greatest pressure I've ever felt, and then at a certain point it became apparent I'm not going to finish it by then. I don't only want to finish it, I want to make it as good as I possibly can. Since then there's been pressure, but not like there was at that point. There's no longer a race. The show is over. I'm writing the book. It will be done when it's done." George not having a definitive deadline at this point is a really good thing. If you have stalked George, like I have for as many years, you know that he does not do well with deadlines. He just freaks out and can't do it. He just does not work well under pressure. So him not having the pressure of the show anymore is going to lead to some good things. And I know people think I'm naive or super hopeful, but I still think 2020 is the year we get Winds of Winter. It's going to be before the summer. It's gonna happen. Positive hopes. Also, I know there's gonna be people writing, I don't care, I'm not gonna read his books, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Don't read his fucking books. I'm going to. Next in prequel filming news about Blood Moon, the pilot about the long night, which hopefully becomes an entire season. We got some leaked photos. In Grotto del Torco, GOT-like locations captured some amazing pictures of them filming. The sigil they captured actually looks like a direwolf to me, so this might be a Stark sigil before it became the more modern one we know, as we know sigils can change over time. However, others believe that this location is being used for Casterly Rock and for the House Casterly, who are currently in charge of it. Lan the Clever has not tricked them out of it yet and formed House Lannister, but I don't know, maybe the Starks are somewhere else doing shenanigans. But if this is the Casterly sigil, they have a Linus sigil, and the location would be perfect for Casterly Rock. I say Stark still, but ah well. If it is the Casterlys, oh my gosh, is everyone else not so excited to see the story, the version they go with for Lan the Clever tricking them out of their home? Please don't be the rape version. Speaking of Lan, there were some leaked images of Naomi Watts in costume. She looks to be playing a blonde after all, even though we saw her with a brunette wig in her trailer at one point. And now there are thoughts that they may make Lan the Clever a woman as a twist on the tale, and Naomi is playing the legendary hero. The twist, honestly, wouldn't really bother me. It would actually be one of the better gender swaps that they've done for a legend, in my opinion, but I do understand why some people might get a little cranky about this. Like I said before, I just really want to see the version of Lan the Clever they go with for tricking the Casterlys out of Casterly Rock. But going back to that brunette wig, who's to say she doesn't wear a blonde wig and a brunette wig, or maybe uses her own blonde hair and then a brunette wig, and it's part of her being Lan the Clever and doing her trickery. I'll stop tinfoiling now, sorry. Moving on, Jerome Flynn, bronze actor, shared some interesting things. First, he's glad that the series ended when it did, saying, I'm glad they didn't kind of milk it and carry on. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about the last season, but I still think they did a pretty good job, actually. And he doesn't think that Bronn is as hard as his character made people believe, so he doesn't think that Bronn would have ever killed Tyrion, and he also doesn't think that Bronn could be offered enough money to kill a baby. So he said, I think he had a real soft spot for Tyrion. I think he saw himself there. He was an underdog, and he had to really fight for himself. Tyrion and Bronn had quite a lot of crossover there. He also addressed the rumor that Lena and him have bad blood because they were in a romantic relationship and it ended poorly, basically debunking it and being like, stop believing these rumors. So he explained, we were actually in the same scene together, and the last time I saw Lena, we were speaking, so I wouldn't believe everything you read. Like I said, they can get pretty desperate for stories. Lena's a wonderful person and a wonderful actress. Funny enough, you know how we were all freaking out about Bronn being made the Master of Coin? He actually thinks that Bronn being the Master of Coin is wonderful and that Bronn has been so successful before, he'll be successful in that. Don't know if I agree with you, Flynn, on that one, but okay. Everyone's welcome to their own opinion. And I'm welcome to think you're fucking crazy. Jamie's actor Nikolai shared his thoughts on the backlash for season 8, saying, we're so lucky to be part of a show where people care so much about it that you also get upset when it doesn't go the way you want it to. And that's fantastic, and I love it. And I love that there was an online petition to have it rewritten. Yeah, Nikolai, I don't think people were 100% angry because the show ended in a way that they thought it shouldn't. I think it was because there was a lot of sloppiness in the last 2 seasons, but continuing on.
The only thing I'll say is that for anyone to imagine or to think that the two creators of this show are not the most passionate, the greatest, the most invested of all, and to for a second think they didn't spend the last 10 years thinking about how they were gonna end it, is kinda silly. And also know that they too read the comments, and even though you sit on your own and go, fucking stupid writers, assholes, they really, like everyone on Game of Thrones, and there are thousands, we worked our asses off to make the best show we could for the ending.
So do a lot of people on many different projects. Working hard and a bunch of people working hard does not mean you are free from criticism or you should have less criticism. I mean, I work fairly hard on a lot of stuff I've put out on the internet, and look at the YouTube comments. I'm not free from criticism. I'm not free from people saying I should fucking go slit my wrist. That's just the world. Them be the breaks, Nikolai. I'm sorry. I am glad that he laughed about it quite a bit though, because that's kind of what I do. I have shared comments that were meant to be super vicious, and I've shared it with family and friends, and their response is so hilarious that I just fucking love it now. Also, my younger brother always, when someone says something mean or critical, he yells, "Got him!" in a really obnoxious way. And so now when people say mean things, I just always hear his voice going, "Got him!" And I don't know. Don't take shit so seriously, Nikolai. Just laugh it off. It's pretty fucking hilarious.
Lastly, on Nikolai, he shared his thoughts on Jaime going back to Cersei in the end. Remember, Nikolai has been very pro Jaime Cersei, and he has stated multiple times that theirs is one of the true love stories of the series. So Nikolai shared, he fell in love with the wrong woman, and it became an obsession, and it became an addiction, and he couldn't break out of that. Obviously, you'd think it would be much better for him if he'd just hung out with Brienne for a while. But would that really have been truth when it comes to the character? I think he did love Brienne. I was very moved by the final season with Brienne, where she's filling out the blanks in the White Book.
Oh, and this guy? This guy who is definitely not Dario or Benjen Stark, disguised, because he's a faceless man. I shouldn't say that. People are going to take me seriously. Well, he's actually dead in the books and in the show. The actor for him confirmed that, yeah, he's dead. And George's wife was a bit pissed at George killing his character in the book. So, George, happy wife, happy life. Remember that. Hey, there's your Game of Thrones news. More history and lore videos coming. If you support me on Patreon, you should have access to them very soon. I just have to upload them. For everyone else who's just regularly subscribed to this channel, you should have them, I would imagine, in the next few days. I think, but oh my god, have I been wrong before, because anytime I promise something, something catastrophic happens. I'm looking at you, Sansa Cat. Bye!